There are moments in life when we look around and wonder if we truly belong, if we are where we are meant to be. But what if, from the very beginning, you were not here by chance? What if, even before you were born, God had already chosen you for a purpose, a higher calling that only you could fulfill? This is the truth: you are God's chosen one, not by coincidence, but by divine design. You were carefully selected, long before you even knew what it meant to walk this earth. God's hand has been upon you since the very beginning, before the struggles, the heartaches, the confusion, and the times when you questioned your purpose. God knew exactly who you were and the role you would play in His plan. This isn't just about your current circumstances or what you've been through in the past. It's about the bigger picture, the destiny that God has been shaping you for all along. You are not an afterthought. You are part of a greater narrative, one that began long before your first breath and will continue long after your final one. In the midst of all the noise and distractions of life, it's easy to forget this truth. We may feel small, insignificant, or even lost in the grand scheme of things. But God's purpose for you is profound and unshakable. Even when you feel uncertain or disconnected, His plan is still unfolding. His presence in your life is constant, guiding you, molding you, and preparing you for what's to come. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to prove our worth, to measure up to others, and to perform. But God doesn't require us to earn His love or His attention. You are chosen, not because of your achievements or the things you've done right, but simply because of His grace. It's His will that has placed you in this moment at this time, for a reason you might not even fully understand yet. There is so much more than what meets the eye. What you're experiencing now, the challenges and growth, are part of a much larger divine process. Every difficulty you face, every lesson you learn is shaping you for the greatness that lies ahead. You may not see it yet, but God is working behind the scenes, preparing you for something remarkable. Your story isn't random, it's divinely orchestrated, a beautiful part of God's greater plan. You are not here by mistake. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, chosen and loved by God for a purpose that only you can fulfill. Trust in His timing. Trust in His process. He has a plan for you, one that is filled with purpose, joy, and fulfillment. And as you walk this journey, know that you are not walking alone. God is with you every step of the way. This is the foundation of everything that will follow: the understanding that you are God's chosen one, intricately woven into His plan. This truth will guide you as you move forward, helping you recognize His presence in every part of your life, and encouraging you to embrace the journey ahead with faith and trust in His perfect timing. The journey of life is not always immediately clear. Sometimes it starts with a feeling, an inner stirring that something greater is ahead. This feeling may not be loud or obvious at first. It's often a quiet tug at the soul, a sense that you're being guided towards something new. The first steps on your journey might seem uncertain, and that's okay. It's part of the process. When God begins to move in your life, He doesn't always reveal the full picture right away. Instead, He leads you one step at a time, asking you to trust that each step will bring you closer to the destiny He has for you. At first, it might feel like you're walking blindfolded. You might have questions: why am I here? What is my purpose? These questions are normal and are part of the process of discovering your divine calling. The uncertainty is not a sign of failure, but of growth. You are learning to trust, not in your own understanding, but in God's plan and timing. In the beginning, you might feel a sense of doubt or confusion, but trust that it's all part of the divine journey. God is leading you to places you've never imagined, and in this season of unknowns, He is preparing you for the next level of your purpose. As you take those first steps, you might find yourself surrounded by people, circumstances, and experiences that seem unfamiliar. That's because you are being prepared for something new, something that may look completely different from what you had expected. The path ahead may not be what you envisioned, and that's a good thing. God often works in ways that defy human expectations. His plans for you are greater than anything you could have imagined on your own. But before you can experience those plans, you must take those first steps. Even when you don't know exactly where they will lead. It's in those first moments, when you feel unsure and hesitant, that God's presence becomes even more important. It is during these times of uncertainty that He calls you to lean in closer, to trust Him more deeply. You might feel the urge to push forward, to try and figure everything out on your own, but God is asking you to pause and listen. Sometimes, the most important thing you can do in the beginning of a new season is simply to be still and listen to the quiet whispers of God's guidance. In these early moments, you may also begin to feel a shift in your spirit, a feeling that something inside of you is changing. You might not fully understand it, but you'll begin to sense that God is recalibrating your heart, aligning it with His greater purpose. It's not always a dramatic or immediate shift, but rather a subtle one, a gentle change that deepens your awareness of His presence in your life. As you begin to trust God more fully, you may notice that your desires, your hopes, and your perspectives begin to change as well. This is part of the process of realignment, as God prepares you for what's next. Though the journey ahead may seem unclear and intimidating, know that each step you take is leading you to something beautiful and purposeful. God isn't asking you to know the entire path. He is simply asking you to walk in faith. The more you walk in His direction, the clearer the path will become. It's in the trusting, the stepping out, and the following that the clarity will emerge. You may not see the end result right now, but trust that God does, and He is faithful to guide you every step of the way. When you look back, you'll realize that those early steps were the foundation of everything that would come. They were the moments that allowed you to learn how to walk in faith, to trust even when you couldn't see the full picture. And in those moments of uncertainty, you learned the most important lesson of all: God is always with you. Even in the unknown, He is leading you, shaping you, and preparing you for what lies ahead. As you move forward, continue to trust the process. Embrace the uncertainty, knowing that it's in those moments that God works the most powerfully. You don't have to have all the answers right now. The key is to take that first step, trusting that He is guiding you towards something greater. As you continue to walk this journey, there will be moments when you question if you are truly hearing from God or if you're just following your own desires. The path can feel unclear, and you may wonder whether you are following His guidance or just navigating through life on your own. This is the tension that many face in their spiritual journey. The desire to hear God's voice and know His will is natural, but it doesn't always come in the ways we expect. The first thing you need to understand is that God is always speaking. His guidance is not reserved for the extraordinary moments of life. It is present in the quiet, everyday moments. God speaks to us in ways that are often subtle, and it's easy to miss these whispers if we aren't paying attention. His voice doesn't always come as an audible voice or a grand sign. It often comes as a gentle prompting in your spirit, a quiet feeling or thought that leads you in a specific direction. One of the key ways God guides us is through the peace He gives us. This peace often acts as a confirmation that we are in alignment with His will. When you feel a deep sense of peace in a decision, even in times of uncertainty, it's often God's way of saying, "This is the right path for you." On the other hand, if you feel unsettled or uneasy about something, that too is God's way of redirecting you, signaling that this may not be the right choice. Another important aspect of recognizing God's guidance is through the counsel of others. God often uses people in our lives to confirm His will, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or even a stranger. God uses the wisdom and insight of others to help you discern His direction. When you share your heart with someone you trust, and they offer advice that resonates deeply with your spirit, it's often a sign that God is speaking through them. Be open to the voices of wise counsel, as they can help you see things from a perspective you might have missed. In addition, God uses His Word, the Bible, as a primary means of guidance. The Scriptures are full of wisdom, encouragement, and direction. Many times, when we face questions or decisions, God will speak to us through a verse or passage that brings clarity and peace. Spending time in God's Word not only deepens your understanding of His will, but also sharpens your ability to hear His voice. When you immerse yourself in His Word, you begin to recognize His voice more clearly in all aspects of your life. The key to recognizing God's guidance is learning to quiet your heart and tune into His frequency. In today's world, we are bombarded with noise distractions, demands, and voices that pull us in different directions. It's easy to become overwhelmed and confused, but when you make space for stillness and solitude, you open yourself up to hearing God's voice more clearly. God often speaks in the silence, in the moments when you slow down and listen with intention. Learning to recognize God's guidance is not always instantaneous. It takes practice, patience, and sensitivity. The more you walk with God and rely on His guidance, the clearer His voice becomes. It's like tuning a radio to the right station. At first, the signal may be faint, but as you continue to listen and adjust, it becomes clearer and stronger. The same is true for your spiritual journey. The more you listen, the more you will hear. It's important to remember that God's guidance is not always about giving you all the answers right away. Sometimes He will lead you step by step, asking you to trust Him in the small things before revealing the bigger picture. Trusting God's guidance is a process of learning to walk by faith, not by sight. He won't always show you the end result, but He will guide you along the way, giving you just enough to take the next step. So, when you find yourself wondering if you're truly hearing from God, remember this: He is guiding you. Even when you can't see the full path, He is leading you, step by step. All you need to do is listen, trust, and follow His promptings. The more you surrender to His guidance, the more you will find yourself walking in alignment with His will. Trust that God is faithful to lead you. And even in the moments when you don't feel certain, remember that His guidance is often a quiet whisper in your heart, a subtle peace that confirms you're on the right track. Keep listening, keep trusting, and know that God is never silent in your life. He is always speaking, always guiding you. Even when the path isn't clear, every journey you take, especially the one God has set for you, is not without its struggles and challenges. In fact, challenges are an inevitable part of the process. They may come in many forms: obstacles that seem too large to overcome, setbacks that leave you questioning your progress, or moments of deep pain and heartache that make you wonder if God is truly with you. But what if I told you that these very struggles are not signs of abandonment or failure? Instead, They are crucial moments in your journey that shape you, refine you, and ultimately propel you toward the divine purpose God has in store for you. When you face challenges, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that something is wrong, that perhaps you've missed God's guidance, or that you're not meant to move forward. You might even feel frustrated or defeated, as if the road ahead is too difficult to navigate. But it's important to remember that just because something is hard doesn't mean it's wrong. Struggles are often the places where God does His deepest work in our lives. Think about the process of refining gold. Gold doesn't shine because it is left untouched. It shines because it is heated to extremely high temperatures, melting away the impurities. The same is true for you. God allows challenges to refine you, to melt away the things that are not serving your higher purpose, and to purify your character so that you can step into the fullness of what He has called you to do. Each trial, each obstacle, each difficult moment is part of the divine refinement process. When you face struggles, it's easy to focus solely on the pain or the difficulty. But take a moment to shift your perspective. Instead of viewing these challenges as obstacles, see them as opportunities for growth. Every struggle you face is teaching you something. It might teach you patience when the answers aren't coming fast enough. It might teach you perseverance when the road ahead seems long and tiring. It might even teach you humility when you realize that you can't do it all on your own and that you need to rely on God more fully. The key to overcoming struggles is to trust that God is using them to build your character and strengthen your faith. These challenges are not meant to destroy you, but to build you into the person God created you to be. When you face hardship, remind yourself that God is with you in the fire. He has not abandoned you. In fact, He is refining you in the midst of the trial. Every test you face is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more aligned with the purpose He has for you. You may wonder why God allows certain struggles to come your way. Why does He let you face hardship, pain, or disappointment? The truth is, God sees the bigger picture. He knows what you need in order to become the person He has called you to be. He doesn't promise that life will be easy, but He does promise that He will be with you through it all. He will give you the strength to endure, the wisdom to learn, and the grace to keep moving forward. When you're in the middle of a struggle, it can feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But don't be discouraged. Every step you take, no matter how small, is moving you closer to your destiny. The enemy may try to convince you that you're losing ground, that the struggle is too great, but God's perspective is different. To Him, every challenge is an opportunity for you to rely on His strength and experience His faithfulness in a deeper way. And remember, struggles are not permanent. They may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they are temporary. They have an expiration date. God promises that He will not let you face anything you cannot overcome with His help, and He will never leave you to face your struggles alone. Even when you can't see Him, even when you can't feel His presence, He is working on your behalf. The struggles you face today are the very things that will strengthen your faith and prepare you for the next chapter of your journey. So, the next time you encounter a struggle or challenge, take a moment to pause and reflect on what God might be teaching you. Instead of being consumed by frustration or despair, try to look at the situation from a different angle. Ask God to show you what He is doing in the midst of your struggle. Trust that even when the path is hard, He is using every moment to shape you into the person He has called you to be. In the end, the challenges will not break you. They will refine you. And in that process, you will emerge stronger, more resilient, and more ready for the future that God has prepared for you. You are not alone in your struggles. God is with you. every step of the way. And He is turning every difficulty into a stepping stone toward your divine destiny. As you continue on your journey, something profound begins to happen within you. It's a transformation that may not always be visible on the outside, but is deeply powerful on the inside. This inner transformation is a key aspect of the journey God is taking you on. It's not just about external changes in your life. New circumstances, new people, new opportunities. It's about a shift in your spirit. A transformation that happens in the deepest part of who you are. One of the first signs of this inner transformation is the change in your ability to trust. You may not have realized it at first, but as you start to surrender your need for control and trust more fully in God's timing and plan, you begin to experience a sense of peace and calm that surpasses anything you could have imagined. This peace is not dependent on your external circumstances. It's rooted in your trust in God. And that trust begins to reshape the way you view the world and your place in it. When you learn to surrender to God's will, you begin to see things from a different perspective. The worries that once consumed you, the fear of the unknown, the anxiety about the future, the need for perfection begin to fade away. It's not that those things no longer matter, but rather that they no longer have the power to control you. You learn that you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to control every outcome. In fact, trying to do so only leads to exhaustion and frustration. God's plan is bigger than anything you can control, and when you surrender to it, you open the door to divine peace and joy. This transformation also shifts the way you relate to others. As you trust God more fully, you begin to let go of the need to prove yourself to others. You stop measuring your worth by their approval or opinions. Instead, you find your value in God's love and His calling for your life. This shift is liberating. It allows you to build relationships from a place of authenticity, rather than from a place of insecurity or fear. When you're no longer trying to earn your place or prove your worth, you can experience deeper connections with the people around you. However, inner transformation does not come easily. It requires a willingness to change and a commitment to letting go of old patterns, old ways of thinking, and old habits. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself that are resistant to change, the parts that want to hold on to control, and the parts that fear the unknown. This process can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is essential for your growth. God's purpose for your life cannot be fully realized if you are holding on to things that are no longer serving you. This could be unhealthy beliefs about yourself, old wounds that need healing, or attachments to things or people that are hindering your spiritual growth. Surrendering these things is not easy, but it is necessary for the transformation that God wants to bring about in your life. In this process of inner transformation, you may also experience moments of vulnerability. These are the times when you realize how deeply God is working within you. It's when you come face to face with your own weaknesses, fears, and doubts, and yet you feel God's strength carrying you through. These moments of vulnerability are not signs of weakness. They are signs of God's power at work in your life. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and open to God's healing, you invite His transformative power to work in you. This process of change is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the person God created you to be. It's about shedding the layers of fear, doubt, and self-reliance, and embracing the freedom that comes with trusting God completely. As you go through this transformation, you will find that the person you were always meant to be is slowly emerging, and this person is confident, grounded in God's love, and equipped with the strength to face whatever comes your way. The more you trust in God's work within you, the more you will experience His peace. This peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of God in the midst of it. It's the kind of peace that allows you to move forward with confidence, even when the future is uncertain. It's the kind of peace that tells you, I don't know what will happen, but I know that God is with me, and that's enough. Remember that transformation takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. You will face setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when it feels like nothing is changing. But in those moments, remind yourself that God is at work. The process of transformation is ongoing, and with each step you take in faith, you are becoming more of who God has called you to be. Trust the process and trust that God is doing a deep work within you, and know that this inner transformation is leading you to the life He has always planned for you. One of the most exciting yet challenging aspects of God's journey for you is the call to be ready for the new. New opportunities, new people, and new chapters are often on the horizon. But in order to step into these new phases, you must first be prepared. Preparation is not simply about waiting. It's about actively aligning yourself with God's plan so that when the time comes, you are ready to step into the next phase with confidence and faith. Being ready for the new requires a shift in mindset. It's easy to hold on to the familiar, to stay in places and situations that are comfortable because they feel safe. But growth does not happen in comfort zones. Just as a seed must break through the soil to grow into a tree, you too must break through your current limitations and embrace the unknown in order to grow into the person God has created you to be. The new may feel intimidating or uncertain, but it is the very thing that will propel you forward into the fullness of God's plan for your life. You may find that God has been quietly preparing you for this moment all along. He's been working in the background, orchestrating circumstances, bringing people into your life, and shaping your character to equip you for the new things He is about to bring your way. The key to stepping into the new with grace and confidence is to trust that God knows exactly what He's doing. His timing is perfect, even when it feels like things are moving slowly or not according to your plans. Readiness also involves surrendering any fear of the unknown. Often, we hold back from stepping into new opportunities because we fear failure, rejection, or discomfort. But when you trust in God's plans, you can let go of these fears and step forward in faith. God has already prepared the way, and the challenges you face will not be beyond His ability to help you overcome them. When you surrender your fears to God, you make room for His peace to fill your heart, allowing you to move forward with boldness. But this is a time to reflect on what you have learned and how far you've come. In your journey, you have faced challenges, experienced inner growth, and learned to trust God more fully. Now, you must ask yourself, are you ready to take what you have learned and apply it to the new opportunities ahead? Being ready doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. It simply means you are open to God's leading, willing to take the next step even when you don't know exactly where it will lead. The new can also bring a sense of excitement as God begins to unfold a new season in your life. It might be a new job, a new relationship, or a new area of ministry that God is calling you to. Whatever it is, trust that He is preparing you for something far greater than you could have imagined. But in order to embrace the new, you must be willing to let go of the old. There may be things from your past relationships, habits, or mindsets that are holding you back from stepping into the new. You must be willing to release these things so that you can make space for what God is bringing into your life. Being ready for the new also means being in the right spiritual condition. You must be grounded in God's Word and in prayer, seeking His guidance and wisdom as you prepare for the changes that are coming. Staying connected to God in every season of life ensures that you remain aligned with His will, even as things around you begin to shift. This connection to God will provide you with the strength and clarity you need to navigate new opportunities and challenges. You may not feel fully equipped or prepared for what's next, and that's okay. God never calls us to something He hasn't already equipped us for. He is constantly working in you, refining you, and giving you the tools you need to succeed. The feeling of being unprepared is not a sign of failure, but an invitation to lean more fully on God's strength. When you feel weak, He is strong. When you feel unsure, He is certain. Trust that He will supply everything you need to walk boldly into the new that He is bringing into your life. Being ready for the new is also about having a heart that is open and expectant. God is always doing new things, and He invites you to be part of what He is doing in the world. When you approach each day with an expectant heart, ready to see where God is at work, you will begin to recognize the new opportunities He is bringing your way. Whether it's in your career, your relationships, or your spiritual life, God is always leading you towards something greater. And the more open and ready you are to receive, the more you will experience His goodness and provision in your life. Ultimately, being ready for the new is about trusting that God's plans for you are always good, even when the details are unclear. The new may not always look like what you expected, but trust that it is exactly what you need in order to grow and step into the fullness of your destiny. So, take a deep breath and let go of any fear or hesitation. Step boldly into the new, knowing that God is with you every step of the way, preparing you for the incredible things that lie ahead. One of the most significant aspects of your journey with God is the need to release the old in order to embrace the new. Often, we find ourselves holding on to things, relationships, habits, or mindsets that no longer serve us or align with the purpose God has for our lives. These things can become comfort zones, familiar but ultimately limiting. The challenge lies in letting go, in being willing to move forward, and to leave behind what God has already called you to outgrow. When God calls us into a new season, it's not just about stepping into new opportunities. It's also about shedding the old. This can be difficult because there is comfort in the familiar, even when we know it is no longer serving us. The relationships we've held on to, the fears that have defined us, the habits that have shaped us, these things are often hard to let go of, even when they are holding us back. But to step into what God has for you, you must be willing to release these old patterns and allow God to bring something new into your life. This process of release is not about abandoning everything or cutting ties with people who are important to you. It is, however, about recognizing what is no longer helping you grow, what is hindering your spiritual walk, and what is standing in the way of the new things God wants to do in your life. For some, it might mean walking away from toxic relationships that have kept you stuck in negativity or dependency. For others, it could be letting go of old habits or fears that limit your faith and your ability to fully trust in God. The key to letting go is recognizing that God has something better waiting for you. Holding on to the old is often a sign of fear that the new may not be as good. Fear that you'll be left with nothing. But God promises that He has plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Jeremiah 29:11. What He is asking you to release is only a small part of the grand picture He is creating. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make room for the abundant life He is offering you. The process of releasing can be painful, especially when it involves people or places that were once important to you. It may feel like you are losing something, but in reality, you are gaining freedom. Freedom to step into the fullness of your calling. Freedom to walk in the peace and joy that God has waiting for you. Remember that when God asks you to release something, it's never because He wants to deprive you of something good. It's because He is preparing you for something even better. Letting go also requires faith. It's not easy to trust that something better is coming when the old feels comfortable and known. But this is where faith comes in. Trust that God sees what you cannot see. Trust that He is leading you toward greater things, even if you don't understand it at the moment, just as a seed must be buried in the ground to sprout and grow. Sometimes you must release what is familiar to make room for what God has planted within you. Sometimes the hardest thing to let go of is the fear of the unknown. We are creatures of habit, and the unknown can feel intimidating. But in letting go of our fear, we learn to step forward in faith. God will never lead you somewhere that He hasn't already prepared for you. His presence will go with you, and His strength will sustain you. You will not face the new on your own. He will walk with you through every step. In the process of releasing the old, you might also discover new levels of self-awareness. You may realize that some of the things you've held on to were never truly meant for you. Perhaps you held on to certain ideas, beliefs, or fears out of habit or because they were passed down to you. But now, as you grow spiritually, you begin to recognize what aligns with God's truth and what needs to be let go of. This is a powerful part of the transformation process. It's about becoming more fully yourself, the person God has called you to be, and no longer being weighed down by things that don't serve your higher purpose. Letting go is also an act of obedience. God calls us to trust Him completely and surrender everything, our desires, our fears, our comforts, to Him. When we obey His call to release the old, we are saying to God, I trust you. I believe that you have something better for me. I believe that your plans are far greater than anything I can imagine. This act of surrender is the gateway to new blessings, new opportunities, and new growth. The journey of letting go can be difficult, but it is always worth it. As you release the old, you make space for the new things God is doing in your life. Let go of the fear, the baggage, the doubts, and trust that God is guiding you into a future filled with His goodness and grace. Trust that, even though it may be difficult at first. This process of release will lead you to a place of peace, joy, and fulfillment that you could not have experienced without letting go of the old. God has something new and beautiful waiting for you, and in order to fully embrace it, you must be willing to step away from the past, from the things that have kept you bound, and trust that what He has for you is far greater than anything you've left behind. As you continue on this journey, one of the most precious gifts that God offers you is His peace. This peace is unlike anything the world can give. It's a peace that doesn't rely on your circumstances, but a peace that transcends understanding. It is a deep, inner stillness that comes from knowing that God is with you, no matter what you face. And this peace is not just for times when life is calm and easy. It is a peace that holds you steady in the midst of storms, challenges, and uncertainties. We live in a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant pressure. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the demands of life, the constant buzz of responsibilities, the worries about the future, and the noise of the world telling you what you should do, how you should act, and who you should be. It's in the middle of all this noise that God invites you to experience His peace, a peace that quiets your heart and settles your mind. This peace is not a mere absence of problems, but a deep assurance that God is in control and that He will provide everything you need. The first step to embracing this peace is to be still and know that He is God. This means intentionally creating moments of quiet and solitude in your life, where you can tune out the noise and listen to God's voice. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of life, but in the stillness, God speaks. In the silence, His peace enters your heart. This peace comes when you release your grip on the need to control everything and instead surrender to God's will and timing. Embracing inner peace also means letting go of anxiety and fear. Anxiety often comes when we try to figure everything out on our own, when we worry about things we cannot control. But God tells us in Philippians 4:6-7 not to be anxious about anything but to present our requests to Him through prayer and petition. And in return, He promises that His peace will guard our hearts and minds. This peace isn't just a temporary feeling, it's a supernatural protection over your heart. A peace that guards you against the chaos of the world and allows you to remain centered in God's love. As you embrace this peace, it begins to transform your perspective on life. You start to see things from a place of calm rather than panic. You learn to trust that no matter what happens, God is with you. When challenges arise, instead of reacting with fear or frustration, you can respond with faith and confidence because you know that God is in control. This peace helps you navigate difficult times with grace, knowing that God's plan will prevail. Embracing inner peace also requires you to trust God's timing. There will be times when things don't unfold the way you expected or hoped, and it's easy to become frustrated or discouraged. But true peace comes from trusting that God's timing is perfect. Even when you don't understand why things are happening the way they are, peace comes when you release your expectations and trust that God is working everything together for your good. Another aspect of embracing God's peace is learning to live in the present moment. So often, we are consumed with regrets from the past or worries about the future, and these thoughts steal our peace. But Jesus tells us in Matthew 6:34 not to worry about tomorrow because today has enough troubles of its own. Embracing peace means focusing on the present, trusting that God has given you everything you need for today. You don't have to carry the burdens of tomorrow or replay the mistakes of yesterday. Instead, embrace the present moment, knowing that God is with you in it. This peace also deepens your relationship with God. As you grow in your trust of Him, you begin to experience His presence more intimately. You realize that peace isn't just something He gives you. It's who He is. When you draw near to God, you are drawing near to the source of true peace in His presence. You find rest for your soul. Psalm 23:2-3 says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still water. He restores my soul. When you embrace His peace, your soul is restored, and you find the strength to move forward with renewed purpose and clarity. As you embrace God's peace, you begin to see the world differently. Instead of reacting to situations with anxiety or fear, you respond with a calm assurance that God is in control. Peace becomes your lens through which you view all of life's challenges. You begin to trust that God is working even when you can't see it. And you rest in the knowledge that He is always with you, guiding you every step of the way. It's important to remember that this peace is not something you can manufacture on your own. It is a gift from God, and the more you lean into Him, the more you will experience it. But it does require intentionality. It requires setting aside time to be with Him, to listen to His voice, and to trust Him with all your heart. It requires letting go of control, letting go of fear, and allowing God to fill you with His peace. In the end, embracing inner peace isn't about escaping the challenges of life. It's about finding peace in the midst of them, knowing that God is with you. No matter what you face, His peace will guide you, protect you, and sustain you. And in the stillness of His presence, you will find the strength to keep moving forward, step by step, into the life He has prepared for you. Fear and uncertainty are universal experiences that everyone faces at some point in their journey. Whether it's fear of the unknown, fear of failure, or fear of what might happen, these feelings are natural. Yet, as believers, we are not meant to be controlled by fear. God doesn't want us to live in a constant state of anxiety or dread. Instead, He calls us to trust Him, even when the future is uncertain, and to walk forward in faith despite the fear we may feel. One of the most common fears people face is the fear of the unknown. We often fear what we cannot see, what we do not understand, or what lies ahead. The future is a mystery, and the unknown can feel overwhelming. But God, in His wisdom, has promised us that He is always with us, even in the unknown. In Isaiah 41:10, He says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This promise is a reminder that we do not face the unknown alone. God walks with us through every unknown and gives us the strength we need to face it. Fear also often arises from a sense of inadequacy. We fear that we are not enough, that we don't have what it takes to accomplish the task ahead. We may doubt our abilities, our wisdom, or our worth. But the truth is, God does not call us to live in fear or self-doubt. He calls us to trust in His ability to equip us for every good work. 2 Timothy chapter 1:7 tells us that God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. When fear arises, remember that it is not from God. He has given you everything you need to succeed, and His power within you is greater than any fear or insecurity you may face. It's important to recognize that fear is often rooted in the belief that we have to control everything. When we feel uncertain about the future, we try to hold on to the reins, trying to manage every detail, make every decision, and foresee every outcome. But God is calling us to surrender that control and trust Him with our lives. Trusting in God means acknowledging that He is in control, even when we don't have all the answers. It's about accepting that we don't need to know the whole plan because we know the One who does. This kind of trust allows us to release the weight of fear and embrace peace, knowing that God is working all things together for our good. Fear can also be a barrier to stepping into new opportunities. We fear change because it challenges our comfort zones and forces us to step into the unknown. Whether it's starting a new job, moving to a new city, or pursuing a new relationship, change can be intimidating. But change is often where growth happens. It's in the moments of stepping out in faith, even when fear tries to hold us back, that we experience the most profound transformation. God is not asking you to have all the answers. He is asking you to trust Him enough to take the first step. Even if the path ahead is unclear, the Bible tells us that perfect love casts out fear. 1 John chapter 4:18. When we recognize and embrace the perfect love of God, fear begins to lose its power. It's not about ignoring our fears or pretending they don't exist. It's about choosing to focus on God's love and promises instead of the fear that threatens to overwhelm us. When you allow God's love to fill you, fear loses its hold. His love is a shield that protects your heart and mind, keeping you steady in the face of uncertainty. Overcoming fear doesn't mean that the fear will disappear instantly, but it does mean that you can move forward in faith despite the fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to act in spite of fear. And God equips you with the courage you need to move forward to it. Every step of faith you take, no matter how small, is an act of courage that displaces fear and opens the door to greater blessings and opportunities. When fear arises, it's important to remind yourself of the truth. Speak God's promises over your life. When you're feeling afraid, recall verses like Isaiah 43, 1-2, where God promises, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you." These words are not just comforting, they are powerful. They remind you that no matter what you face, God is with you every step of the way. As you face the fears and uncertainties in your life, remember that you do not have to face them alone. God is with you, and He has equipped you with everything you need to overcome. When you feel afraid, take a deep breath, pray, and ask God for His strength. Choose to walk forward in faith, knowing that He is guiding you and that His love will cast out all fear. God doesn't promise that the journey will be easy, but He does promise that He will be with you through it all, with Him by your side. You can face anything with confidence and trust that He will see you through to the other side. Fear may try to paralyze you, but when you put your trust in God, you can step forward with courage, knowing that He is in control and that His plans for you are always good. As you continue on this journey, you begin to recognize that your life is not just a series of random events. Every moment, every experience, every relationship is part of a divine design, a plan that God has intricately woven together for you. And as you seek to follow His lead, it becomes increasingly important to align your heart, mind, and actions with His divine purpose for your life. Understanding your purpose is the key to living a life of fulfillment, peace, and power. Aligning with your divine purpose starts with seeking God. Too often, we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, focusing on what we need to do next, what we need to achieve, or what others expect from us. But God is calling you to slow down, seek His guidance, and ask Him to reveal His purpose for your life. When you spend time in prayer, reading His Word and listening to His voice, you begin to hear His heart for you. Your purpose is not something you have to figure out on your own. It's something that God has already planned, and He is more than willing to reveal it to you. The first step in aligning with your divine purpose is to recognize that your life is not your own. You were created with a specific mission, and everything in your life is designed to bring you closer to that mission. Your talents, your passions, your experiences, and even your struggles are all part of the story that God is writing in your life. When you align your desires and goals with His, you move closer to fulfilling that mission. God's purpose for you is bigger than just your personal happiness or success. It is about impacting the world around you, serving others, and bringing glory to His name. Sometimes, we get distracted by our own ambitions, seeking fulfillment in things that ultimately won't bring lasting peace. But when we align ourselves with God's purpose, we begin to see that our lives are meant for so much more than what we can accomplish on our own. We are here to make a difference, to be a light in a dark world, and to reflect God's love and truth. As you move closer to understanding your purpose, you will start to notice a shift in your desires. What once seemed important will begin to fade in comparison to what God is calling you to do. you'll find that your passions, talents, and resources are not meant to be used for personal gain, but to serve others and bring glory to God. Whether it's in your career, your relationships, or your ministry, aligning with your divine purpose means focusing on how you can best serve God and those around you. This alignment requires surrender. It requires letting go of your own plans and trusting that God's plans are better. This doesn't mean that your desires are wrong or insignificant. Rather, it means that when you align your will with God's, you will find that your desires begin to align with His. You will begin to see that God's purpose for you is far greater than anything you could have planned on your own. It's a purpose that will bring true fulfillment, joy, and peace. Sometimes aligning with your divine purpose means stepping out in faith. It's easy to stay where you are, in the comfort of what's familiar. But God often calls us to move beyond our comfort zones, to step into the unknown, and to trust Him with what lies ahead. This can be intimidating, but when you align with His purpose, you can have confidence that He is with you every step of the way. He will equip you with everything you need to fulfill the calling He has placed on your life. Another key aspect of aligning with your divine purpose is recognizing that it's not about achieving worldly success or recognition. It's about fulfilling the mission God has given you. Regardless of how it may look to others, the world often measures success by material wealth, status, or achievements. But God measures success by faithfulness, obedience, and the willingness to serve. When you align with your divine purpose, you stop seeking approval from others and instead seek approval from God. You begin to see that His validation is the only one that truly matters. As you align more and more with your divine purpose, you will notice that everything in your life begins to fall into place. Your relationships will grow deeper, your work will feel more meaningful, and your sense of peace and fulfillment will increase. This is because when you align with God's purpose, you begin to live a life that is truly aligned with who you were created to be. Your life begins to reflect His love, grace, and goodness, and you become a powerful witness to those around you. Remember, aligning with your divine purpose is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing journey. As you grow and evolve, God's purpose for your life may unfold in new and unexpected ways. But every step you take toward alignment brings you closer to the person God created you to be and the life He has prepared for you. Stay open, stay humble, and stay faithful to His call. When you live aligned with your divine purpose, you will experience the fullness of life that God has promised. In the end, living in alignment with God's purpose is the key to true peace, joy, and fulfillment. You were created for a reason, and when you live in alignment with that purpose, you experience life in its truest form. Trust that God has a plan for you, and that His purpose will guide you through every season, every challenge, and every opportunity that comes your way. Change is one of the most constant and inevitable aspects of life. Yet, as human, we often resist it. The process of growth and personal transformation is never easy, and it often requires us to leave behind old ways of thinking, old habits, and sometimes even old relationships. Change challenges us to step out of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown. But here's the truth: the path to fulfillment, divine purpose, and spiritual maturity requires change. God uses change to shape us, refine us, and ultimately prepare us for greater things. When you go through times of personal change, it's natural to feel uncomfortable or uncertain. Change can be painful, especially when it calls you to grow in ways you didn't expect or anticipate. You might feel torn between the life you know and the life you are being called into. But in the midst of change, God is doing something powerful. He is refining your character, building your faith, and preparing you for the next season of your life. One of the most important things to understand about change is that it doesn't happen all at once. It's a process, just as a seed doesn't sprout overnight. Spiritual and personal growth doesn't happen instantly. God works in seasons, gradually unfolding His plan for your life. And sometimes this means going through moments of struggle, confusion, and even loss. These seasons are not signs of failure. They are opportunities for growth. God is taking you from one level to the next, and this process of change is essential for that growth. Change requires trust. You may not always understand why certain things are happening or why you are being called to step into unfamiliar territory, but trust that God's plan is always good. Trust that He is using this process to shape you into the person you are meant to be. Proverbs 3:5-6 encourages us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. This is the foundation of embracing change, trusting that God knows the way and that His plans are always better than our own. Another critical aspect of accepting the process of change is letting go of control. We all have a natural tendency to want to control the direction of our lives. We like to know what's next, and we want to feel confident that we are making the right decisions. But God's way often involves letting go of control and trusting Him with our lives. This is a powerful act of faith, acknowledging that God knows what is best for us and that He will guide us through the change, no matter how difficult or uncertain it may seem. The process of change also requires a willingness to let go of old mindsets. Sometimes, we hold on to limiting beliefs about ourselves, our circumstances, or our future. These beliefs can keep us stuck and prevent us from embracing the new things God has for us. Letting go of these old ways of thinking and being open to new perspectives is crucial for personal growth. Romans 12:2 reminds us to not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. God wants to renew our minds, to help us think and see things from His perspective. This renewal allows us to grow and transform in ways that align with His plan. As you go through the process of change, you will encounter times of difficulty. There may be seasons of waiting, of feeling like you're stuck in transition, or of wondering why things aren't happening the way you hoped. But these seasons are part of the process. They are not wasted time. They are times when God is preparing you, refining your character, and building your faith. He is working in you, even when it doesn't feel like it. Trust that. Just like a sculptor carefully chisels away at the marble to reveal the masterpiece within. God is shaping you into the person you were meant to be. Embracing the process of change also requires patience. Growth takes time, and sometimes we want to rush the process. We want to see results immediately soon. But that's not how true transformation happens. Just like a tree grows slowly but surely, your spiritual and personal growth happens over time. Trust that each step, no matter how small, is leading you closer to becoming who God created you to be. This journey of change is also about learning to embrace the seasons of life. There will be times of abundance, times of struggle, times of quiet, and times of growth. Each season plays a role in your transformation, and each one has something valuable to teach you. Ecclesiastes 3:8 tells us, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." Every season has its purpose, and you are being shaped and molded in each one. As you embrace the process of change, you will begin to see that it's not about reaching a destination. It's about the person you are becoming along the way. God is more concerned with your growth than with your comfort. He wants to build your character, deepen your faith, and help you become the person He created you to be. Change is not always easy, but it is always necessary for spiritual growth and alignment with God's purpose for your life. Remember that God is with you every step of the way. The process of change may be uncomfortable at times, but it is leading you towards something beautiful. Trust that God is doing something new in you, and that every step of the journey is preparing you for the next chapter of your life. Embrace the process, knowing that God's work in you is far greater than anything you could do on your own. In His time, He will bring about the transformation He has promised. One of the most powerful ways God stretches us and shapes us into the people He has called us to be is by inviting us to step out of our comfort zones. We often find comfort in what is familiar, what is predictable, and what feels safe. But God doesn't always call us to live in that place of safety and comfort. He calls us to venture beyond the boundaries we've set for ourselves and trust Him to lead us into the unknown. Stepping out of your comfort zone can be one of the most intimidating and challenging experiences of your life. It's much easier to stay where we feel secure, where we know the rules and understand the environment. The idea of doing something unfamiliar, whether it's taking on a new responsibility, moving to a new place, or pursuing a new calling, can feel overwhelming. But it's in those very moments of discomfort that we experience the most growth. When we step outside our comfort zones, we are giving God room to move in our lives in new ways, ways that we could never experience if we stayed where we were. The journey of stepping out in faith begins with acknowledging the fear and discomfort that comes with the unknown. Fear is a natural response when we're faced with something new, but it is not something that should paralyze us. In fact, fear often serves as a sign that we are on the edge of something significant, something that will stretch us and grow us into the person God intends for us to be. Throughout Scripture, we see numerous examples of individuals who were called to step out of their comfort zones. Abraham was called to leave his homeland and go to a place he didn't know. Genesis 12:1. Moses was called to confront Pharaoh and lead the Israelites out of Egypt, a task that felt completely beyond his abilities. Exodus chapter 3:10. David stepped onto a battlefield to face Goliath, a giant he was clearly no match for 1 Samuel 17. In each case, these individuals had to overcome their fear and step into the unknown in order to fulfill God's plan for their lives. Just like these biblical figures, God is calling you to step out. Maybe He's calling you to take a leap of faith in a relationship, a career, or a ministry. Maybe He's calling you to step outside the boundaries of your own self-doubt and trust that He will provide the strength and wisdom you need. The reality is, we often learn and grow the most in moments of uncertainty. It is in the unknown that God shows up in ways that we could never have anticipated. One of the greatest reasons we resist stepping out of our comfort zones is fear of failure. We worry that we might not be good enough, that we might not succeed, or that we might fall short of expectations. But failure is not the end of the road, it's a part of the process. God uses our mistakes and missteps to teach us valuable lessons, refine our character, and prepare us for greater things ahead. The key is to keep moving forward in faith. Even if things don't go according to plan, remember, God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. When He asks you to step out, He also provides the tools you need to succeed. Stepping out of your comfort zone also requires trust in God's timing and provision. We often hesitate to move forward because we want everything to be perfect, to have all the details figured out, and to know exactly what will happen. But that's not how God works. He leads us step by step, providing just enough light for the next step. Trusting God means knowing that He will guide you, even when the way forward is not immediately clear. You don't have to have all the answers, you just have to trust that He does. As you step out in faith, it's also important to recognize that you are not alone. God has promised that He will never leave you or forsake you, Deuteronomy 31:6. When you step outside your comfort zone, He is right there with you, giving you the courage to continue. Every time you take a step forward in obedience, He will provide you with the strength you need to keep going. And along the way, you will discover that the discomfort you felt at the beginning was simply a part of the process of growth. As you keep moving forward, you will find that you become more confident in who God has created you to be. Stepping out also means letting go of your own plans and allowing God's plans to unfold. It's easy to become so attached to the idea of how our lives should look that we miss the new and beautiful opportunities God is offering us. By stepping out of our comfort zones, we allow God to surprise us, to show us things we never would have seen if we had stayed where we were. It's in the unknown, in the unexpected places that God's plan becomes clearer. Stepping out of your comfort zone is not just about doing something new. It's about becoming someone new. As you take those steps of faith, you are becoming the person God intended you to be. You are learning to rely on Him, to trust in His provision, and to walk boldly into the future He has prepared for you. So, when God calls you to step out of your comfort zone, don't hesitate. Yes, the unknown can be intimidating. And yes, fear will always try to creep in, but trust that God is with you every step of the way. He will guide you. He will strengthen you, and He will be with you as you walk in faith toward the future He has planned. Embrace the discomfort, because it is through this process that you will experience the greatest growth and discover the fullness of the life God has for you. One of the most exciting and often surprising parts of stepping into the unknown and trusting God is the new opportunities and people He brings into your life. As you walk in faith and obedience, God opens doors that you may never have expected, and He introduces you to people who will play key roles in your journey. These new opportunities and relationships are not random. They are part of God's divine design to help you grow, serve others, and fulfill the purpose He has set for you. It's easy to become comfortable with the people and opportunities you already know. The familiar can feel safe and reassuring, but God's plan often involves stepping outside of those boundaries, into new areas of life that bring growth and change. When you open yourself up to the new, you allow God to bring fresh experiences and relationships into your life, ones that can transform you and help you fulfill your destiny in ways you never imagined. New opportunities can come in many different forms. It could be a new job, a new ministry, or a new calling that you feel drawn to. It could be a new season in your personal life that challenges you to grow and become more of who you were created to be. Whatever it is, embracing new opportunities requires a willingness to step out of your comfort zone. Trust that God is leading you, and believe that these opportunities are part of His plan to shape you for something greater. Sometimes new opportunities come with challenges, and it's natural to feel uncertain or overwhelmed. It's easy to question whether you are truly ready for the change or whether you have what it takes to succeed. But remember, God doesn't call you to new opportunities based on your own strength or ability. He calls you because he knows that he will equip you for what he has prepared. He will provide the wisdom, the strength, and the grace you need to step into new seasons of life with confidence. When you walk in obedience, you'll find that the challenges you face are not roadblocks, they are opportunities for you to grow in faith and trust in God's provision. Along with new opportunities, God will often bring new people into your life. These relationships may come unexpectedly, and they may be people who challenge you, support you, or walk alongside you in ways that propel you toward your destiny. Sometimes, we can be resistant to new people or relationships because we fear being hurt or disappointed. But when you trust God, He will bring the right people into your life at the right time. New relationships are meant to help you grow spiritually, emotionally, and personally. Whether it's a mentor who guides you, a friend who supports you, or a colleague who encourages you, the people God brings into your life are part of His plan to help you fulfill His purpose. Don't be afraid to open yourself up to these new relationships, because they may be the ones that God uses to bring healing, growth, and wisdom into your life. It's also important to remember that not every new relationship will be easy, and not every opportunity will come without a challenge. God uses both the good and the difficult relationships to shape us. There may be times when a new relationship tests your patience or forces you to confront parts of yourself that need healing. There may be moments when a new opportunity brings unforeseen difficulties and you wonder if you're on the right path. But in these moments, trust that God is working in you, refining you, and teaching you lessons that are vital for your growth. Embracing new opportunities and relationships requires you to release any fear or resistance to change. It's natural to feel uncertain about what's ahead, but trust that God's plan is always greater than anything you could plan for yourself. Each opportunity and person that God brings into your life is part of His divine orchestration, leading you closer to the life He has called you to live. As you step into these new opportunities and relationships, remember that they are not just for you, they are also for the people around you. God uses the connections we make to impact others and to bring about His kingdom on earth. You may not always see how a new relationship or opportunity is part of the bigger picture, but trust that God has a purpose for it. You are meant to shine His light, share His love, and reflect His grace through every connection and every opportunity He places in your path. When you meet new people or embrace new opportunities, do so with an open heart, knowing that God is guiding you. Don't be afraid to step into the unknown, because it's in those moments of stepping out in faith that you will discover the fullness of God's plan for your life. The people you meet and the opportunities that come your way are part of the beautiful journey that God is unfolding for you. Trust Him. Embrace these new chapters, and be open to the ways He is shaping your story. In every new relationship and opportunity, God is molding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for what's ahead. As you walk in His guidance, you will find that the new people and opportunities He brings into your life will help you grow and fulfill your divine purpose in ways you never imagined. There are seasons in life when you feel like nothing is happening. You've prayed, you've worked hard, and you've done all you know to do, but still, you find yourself waiting. The opportunities haven't come. The answers haven't arrived. The breakthrough you've been hoping for seems just out of reach. In times like these, it's easy to become discouraged, to question whether God is listening, or to wonder if you've missed your chance. But here's the truth: waiting is often part of God's plan. It's not a delay, it's preparation. God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own. While we often want things to happen on our schedule, God's timing is based on His perfect knowledge of what we need, when we need it, and how it will serve his greater plan. Waiting can be frustrating, but it's in these moments that God does some of his most powerful work in us. Waiting teaches us patience, faith, and trust. Patience is not just the ability to sit still and wait for things to unfold. It's the ability to remain steadfast and trust that God is working, even when we can't see it. Psalm 27:14 reminds us, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." This verse encourages us not just to passively wait, but to wait with strength and courage, knowing that God is in control. During times of waiting, it's easy to become discouraged or impatient, but these are the moments when your faith can grow the most. Waiting forces us to rely on God, to trust that He knows what is best for us, even if we don't understand why things are taking longer than we expected. It's also during times of waiting that God refines our hearts and prepares us for the blessings He has in store for us, just like a farmer waits for his crops to grow. We too must wait for the fruit of our labor, and during that waiting time, we are being shaped and prepared for what lies ahead. One of the most important things to remember in seasons of waiting is that God is never idle. Just because we cannot see immediate results doesn't mean that nothing is happening. God is always at work, even in the unseen places. There is so much happening in the spiritual realm during times of waiting that we cannot comprehend. God is aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities, preparing the way for the right moment. What may seem like inactivity is often God's way of preparing us and everything around us for the fulfillment of His promises. Trusting God's plan during these times requires letting go of our desire to control the outcome. We often want to rush ahead, but we must learn to trust that God is moving at just the right pace. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their step." It's a reminder that while we may have our own ideas and timelines, God is ultimately the one who directs our paths. His plan is far greater than our own, and He knows exactly when the right time will come for each opportunity, each breakthrough, and each step forward. Patience in the waiting doesn't mean doing nothing. God calls us to be faithful and diligent in the seasons of waiting. Waiting is not a passive activity. It is an active process of trusting, growing, and preparing. It is during these seasons that you can continue to deepen your relationship with God, serve others, and develop the character you need to handle the blessings that are coming your way. Use the time of waiting to grow closer to God, to seek His will for your life, and to serve where you are. As you focus on trusting Him in the present, you will find that He is already preparing you for the future. Remember, God's promises are not forgotten in seasons of waiting. He has a plan for your life, and it is unfolding according to His perfect timing. Hebrews 10:36 encourages us. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. The key to receiving God's promises is perseverance, holding on to faith, even when the road is long and the waiting feels endless. During times of waiting, it's also important to guard against discouragement. It's easy to look around and see others receiving what you've been hoping for, and the temptation to feel left behind can be overwhelming. But remember that God has a unique plan for each of us. The fact that others may be moving forward doesn't mean you are any less important or any less loved by God. He knows exactly what you need, and His timing for your life is perfect. Trust that what He is preparing for you is worth the wait. And when the waiting period ends, when the doors open and the blessings come, you will look back and see how God was at work every step of the way. you will realize that the waiting season was not wasted. It was the very thing that prepared you to handle the fullness of what God had in store for you. You will emerge stronger, wiser, and more confident in God's faithfulness than you ever were before. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting today, take heart. Trust that God is working in you and through you. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, your breakthrough is on its way. The answer to your prayers is coming, and God is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. While you wait, keep trusting, keep praying, and keep believing that God's timing is always perfect, and that His plan for your life is worth every moment of waiting. God's timing is one of the most profound and challenging aspects of the journey we walk with Him. We all have our own schedules, our own plans, and our own desires. But God's timing often works on a different rhythm, one that doesn't always make sense in the moment. There are times when we are eager for things to move forward, when we feel like we're ready for a new season or breakthrough. But it seems as though God is asking us to wait. Then there are times when things happen unexpectedly, when opportunities open up that we didn't anticipate, and we find ourselves thrust into new phases of life that feel overwhelming. Yet, through all of this, God's timing is perfect. One of the most important lessons we must learn is how to walk in alignment with God's timing, trusting that His plan is always better than our own. Even if we can't see the whole picture right now, when we align ourselves with God's timing, we are acknowledging that His ways are higher than ours, and we choose to trust Him, even when we don't understand why things are happening the way they are. Aligning with God's timing requires patience and surrender. When we walk in alignment with God's timing, we surrender our own timetable to Him. We let go of the need to rush forward, to hurry through seasons of waiting, or to force things to happen on our own. God doesn't need our help to make things happen. He simply asks us to trust Him and follow His lead. Waiting doesn't mean doing nothing, it means actively trusting in God's plan for us. The act of surrender is not passive, it is an intentional obedient trust in God's process. It's about saying, God, I trust that your timing is better than mine, and I choose to walk in step with you. In Psalm 27:14, the psalmist says, wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It takes strength to remain patient and trust in God's timing, especially when everything around you is pushing you to act or make things happen on your own. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, aligning things in your life and preparing you for what is to come. Trusting that God knows when you're ready. Another essential part of walking in alignment with God's timing is trusting that He knows when you're ready. We often think we know when we are prepared for a new season or new opportunity, but God sees the bigger picture. Sometimes, God waits to open doors because He knows that we are not yet equipped to handle what lies behind them. He doesn't withhold blessings from us out of spite. He withholds them out of love. He is a good Father, and He knows exactly when we are ready to handle what He has prepared for us. Trusting God's timing means recognizing that He is preparing us during seasons of waiting. It's in these waiting seasons that God refines our character, builds our faith, and strengthens our hearts to handle the blessings that are to come. What we see as a delay, God uses as a time for deep personal transformation. The more we trust that He knows what's best, the more we are able to rest in His perfect timing and step forward with confidence when He says it's time. Learning to walk in step with God's pace. God's pace often differs from our own. We live in a world that values speed and immediate results. But God's work in our lives often takes time. The Bible tells us that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Psalm 24:1. And His work in our lives is an unfolding process, not a race to the finish line. When we walk in alignment with God's timing, we are learning to move at His pace, not ours sometimes. We can become frustrated when things seem to move slowly or not at the speed we desire, but in those moments we must remember that God's pace is perfect. When He asks us to slow down, it's not because He wants to deprive us of something, but because He is preparing us for what is ahead. Walking in alignment with God's timing means trusting that He knows exactly when things need to happen and when it's time for us to move. Trusting that God's delays are not denials. In times of waiting, it's easy to mistake God's delays for His denials. We may think that because something hasn't happened yet, it's never going to happen. But that's not the truth. Just because God hasn't opened a door yet doesn't mean He won't. His delays are not denials, they are simply part of His process. God's delays are often an invitation for us to trust Him more fully, to grow in patience, and to allow Him to prepare us for what's ahead. Remember, God sees the entire picture. He knows the perfect timing for each part of our journey. And when we align ourselves with His timing, we step into the fullness of what He has prepared for us. His delays are not out of cruelty or indifference. They are out of love, wisdom, and care for our hearts. We can trust that God's plan for us is always worth the wait. Walking in faith, even when we don't see the outcome. Walking in alignment with God's timing also means trusting Him when we can't see the end result. Sometimes, we want the full picture right now. We want to know how everything will unfold. But God calls us to walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians chapter 5-7. This means that we trust Him even when we don't understand, even when things aren't clear. Faith means believing that God is working even when we can't see it, and that in His time, the full picture will be revealed. As you walk in alignment with God's timing, remember that His plan for you is good, perfect, and full of hope. His timing is not meant to frustrate you, it's meant to shape you, prepare you, and ultimately bless you in ways that only He can. Trust that He knows exactly what He is doing, and rest in the knowledge that everything will unfold according to His perfect plan. So, in this season of life, if you find yourself waiting, trust that God is doing something in you and through you. Keep walking in faith, stay aligned with His timing, and know that when the right time comes, God will open doors that no one can shut, and you will step into the life He has prepared for you.